Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another Be Connected session. I'm with you as always. I'm Emily, and I work at the City of Marion Library. You can find me up at the Hallett Cove Library most days. Today, we're talking about an introduction to your smart device. This is a 4-part sort of series that I'm setting up for the month of August. We're going to be looking through different tablet devices, how to use them, what makes up a tablet device, what's an OS, things like that today. And then in later episodes that I'm going to be doing next week, so each Wednesday, I'm going to be looking further into what data is, how to download and manage apps, and then going further with your device and really getting the most out of it. I found that was one of the major questions I'd have when I was doing my one-on-one sessions. People would say, how can I get the most out of this? Am I missing something? I'd love just an intro to figure out what else I could do with my device. So we're going to do a bit of that today, but mostly it's going to be in that last episode of August. Everything's up online. And you can find it there. Otherwise, come in and speak with us at the library. Okay, excellent. Let's get started. We'll first have a look at what we're going to look at today. I'll mention the Be Connected website. I won't open it today just to save time. We've done it plenty of times in the past though, but we'll definitely talk about it. We'll look at what an operating system is, what that means, and why your device runs on an operating system. I'm just looking at my devices here, making sure they don't go to sleep while I'm chatting. I've got a Android running tablet here, which is an OS, and an Apple iOS tablet. So I'll talk about those in detail in just a moment. We'll talk about important gestures and system settings that you can use. We'll explore some useful apps, and I'll just jump straight into downloading ebooks and audiobooks on your device. And then we'll get into some questions if we have any at the end. Otherwise, we'll just skim on through. So Be Connected, this is the Australian government initiative that I run off of with all the information I grab. So everything that I'm going to talk about today is on Be Connected, and I highly recommend you visit. It has an expansive topic collection, beginner to advanced level courses, easy to use, and you can sign up to keep track of your training. It's a brilliant website I recommend to everyone. And if you don't have access to a computer, we can print off the PDF files for you that explain everything in a lovely little document printed off. It's wonderful. There are even games now you can play, and several different sort of skill building apps and challenges that they've got there as well. It's quite good. Excellent, so that's Be Connected. Let's talk about what an operating system is. So an operating system, so an OS or an iOS, if you're an Apple user, iOS meaning an intelligent operating system. It just means that it's slightly different from a regular OS because it's made by Apple, and Apple likes to be special. That's just how they are. It's the software that allows your device to function. It's essentially, so the hardware is the actual technology. So an iPad, for example, is the hardware, but the software that allows it to run and work is the iOS for an Apple device. Its design and function varies depending on the device. So an iOS for Apple is going to look very different than the OS for an Android device. And we'll talk about those in depth in just a little bit as well. The reason you would update your OS or your operating system, or you would update your phone in general, is to keep it up to date with current bug fixes, as well as adding new features. A bug fix essentially is in the lines of code, or deeper than that, in the actual programming of the computer program that's uploaded to your device. There can sometimes be problems either done by new apps being installed, or human issue, human error, that when writing the code they missed something and it miscalculated. A lot of it goes over my head. So it's not all that important that you know it off the cuff. It's totally fine. Just know that when you've updated your device, generally it's going to be functioning even better once you've updated. Some updates come in beta form, or alpha or beta, which is kind of a test zone level of the program, but then eventually I don't think they call it Omega, they just release it at that point to the public. But if you ever get the opportunity to test a beta program, or you can just download an Apple iOS early before it becomes recommended or mandatory on your new device or older device if it's getting an update, you can definitely try the beta version, but there are usually lots of bugs and things. It's more for people to test it out and then report the bugs so they can help the people making the app or the program or the software help it run more smoothly. You probably won't get the chance to do that, so no need to fret about it. And it improve with generally they perform one major update a year. The last one was, I believe it's iOS 13. I'm not sure if they're up to 14. I'll go check. I'll go to my iPad here. Okay, doesn't tell me right off the cuff. That's okay. I believe, yes, either last year or this year was 13, and now it should be 14 about this point. And yeah, they do one major update a year. When I say 13, 14, it just means which version of the Apple iOS it's running. Of course, different versions of Android are extremely prevalent. There's so many different Android products to have out there. Anything that runs a computer software and it's not an Apple is going to be running an Android OS. Android being this little guy here in the green. That's the symbol for Android computers, at least. Yes, even more varied. So let's have a look at the differences between the two, between Apple and Android. So let's get these guys out of here. Thank you. We've got the ease of use for Apple, so in the blue on the left-hand side. Easy to use, simple design, better resale value generally. If you're buying an Apple phone, they kind of hold their value a bit better. And they both come with pre-installed apps, and I'll talk about those in a little bit. Whereas on the other hand, I'm putting out the best points on both of these. An Android device is fully customizable, has a lot of variety in design. You can really pick and choose which works for you best. Is it a Lenovo tablet, which is what I have here, or a Samsung device, or an Oppo, or a Motorola, all these things. You really get a lot to choose from. You can pick the best features depending on the phone you like. So a variety in design. Superior battery life, that's generally across the board with all Android devices. It's going to be better than an Apple device. I'm not sure why Apple haven't, managed to get to the speeds and the impressive recharge and withholding of power like Android have, but I'm sure they'll catch up at some point. But currently, if you want a highly effective phone with a lot of customization, you're going to be getting an Android. If you're more of a casual user, really just an intro to devices in general, an iPhone is best. A lot of people who are very, very good with devices still like to just use an Apple phone for ease of use, knowing where everything is. It is very clear, concise in its design, which is good. But there might be something extra you want to do that you can't do on an Apple device that you can get on an Android. So there's a good balance of pros and sort of cons between the two. So it's always up to you. But today I'm talking about both. I'm going to hold them, equally in equal regard. I have a preference. You'll see if I pick up on that, if I let you know what my preference is. But you could find that out later, I suppose. Shall we continue? Let's talk about important gestures. So essentially, I'm going to talk about the actions you do on a screen that have an outcome. Swiping your finger across is going to move it through your homepage, for example, the homepage being the main page on your home screen that shows all of your apps. On an Apple device, it looks like this. It's going to have your hot dock, I forget what they call these, your dock at the bottom with a series of mostly used apps, as well as some staple apps, like for example, this one, which I've not edited, has come up with Messages, Safari, Apple Music, Mail, and Files. Is it called Files or Documents? It's called Files. All come up at the bottom as just sort of apps you should always have ready to go. And then the other apps on the side are the most recently used apps, whereas a Android device is going to look very different depending on what you have or what your family member has. It's going to look very different. So the widgets are kind of a main staple of, so having widgets and extra doodads is a main staple of an Android device. They've all kind of unified over the years to kind of look like each other. They've found that people like a certain design, they're going to stick with it. So another brand's going to go, oh, I like that as well, let's use that. And hopefully they'll come to our side and come buy our product because it looks the same. But you'll occasionally find some really out there ones, but generally you'll find that the back button's going to be on the bottom, although with Apple devices on the top. So it's a bit of a mix. But it is a matter of just sort of picking and choosing what you like, playing around with it, not feeling afraid to play with it. You're allowed to mess up on your device. Most things can be reversed. I'll say that with a little caveat, most things. If you press delete all, that's going to probably, do it for you there. But playing around with system settings, not as big of a deal. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, but let's go into our gestures. Now, this is very specific to Apple devices, just because all Apple devices universally have the same operating system, design, and settings. Some are a little older and won't do what you what I'm showing you here. If you update to the current operating system, the current iOS, you'll be able to do all these things that I'm doing here. So let's follow the finger I've got here on the screen, little severed hand. And with the severed hand, let's swipe up to unlock. So upward. There we go. That's to unlock your device. So let's lock it here. Black screen. Oh, turn it on first. There you go. Press the button and then swipe up. And that unlocks it. I don't have to put it, never mind. It doesn't need a password. Swipe up to unlocks. That's this action here. Some of these you probably already know, like swiping down to lock your screen. So from my open screen, pulling it down, getting the time, 2:15, and locking it one more time. I'm going to open it again by swiping up. So lock and open. Very good. And now we're going to swipe down from the center to do a search like this. So here, let me expand my screen. Oops, that's my whole screen. One moment. Here I am. So from here, if we're going to swipe down to lock, swipe up to unlock, if we drag from the center, you're going to get a little search bar. So at the top there, we've got a search. You can search an app. Let's type in Libby, Libby, there it is. And we'll talk more about Libby later. There we go. Press the home button to get home. Again, that little physical button. On some newer devices, they don't have buttons like this. For example, let's have a look at my Android tablet. This little guy doesn't have any physical buttons. This little screen will switch around depending on how you've orientated your screen. There we go. And no physical buttons are required to sit there thanks to this. But if you're looking to, say, press the back button or the home button, they're all here in the little virtual sort of desktop setup. It's not any physical button here, as you'd see on an Apple device for the most part. My own phone still has a button, like so. And I do prefer having a physical button to refer back to and know which is the top and the bottom of the screen. But this is quite handy. It's still nice to have. It does increase the size of your actual screen. If you're very much enjoy watching videos or playing games on your device, it's nice to have that larger space, which would be lost if you had the buttons in the bevel. So this actual border is the, pardon me, this border is the bevel. There we go. Now, for Android users, you'll note there's a little back button. It looks like a triangle pointing left for back. The center button is always going to be the home button. So essentially get out of the app. So if I opened up Libby, I've been reading. If you press the center button, it'll take you to the home screen, so back again. And then if you press this little square symbol, it's going to show you all the windows you've had open. So I had press reader, and I just opened Libby, so that's there. I press the home button again, and that takes me back. So if you don't have the physical buttons, sometimes you'll have those symbols embedded in the screen itself and not in a physical way. So that's important to note, and I like to show people that just in case they're a little unsure of where that should be. Let's do our last one. This is very specific to Apple devices. It's a swiping down from the top right-hand corner of the screen from the bevel. So out in the white section, the finger is just sort of just on the outside on the white bit, and swiping inward. Doesn't have to go all the way through the screen, just has to go into the center or so. So I'm swiping from, and I'll bring you back to my screen, swiping from the top right-hand corner where I've got 94% battery life there. I'm going to be swiping, holding my finger on the bevel, so not the screen itself, on the bevel, and dragging it in. There we go. So this is quite cool. Not all Apple users know this is here as a quick access panel. This is how you can get quick access to your settings, essentially. The most likely to be used is going to be your brightness and sound level. So from here, I can adjust the brightness all the way down to no brightness, have it just be a black screen, as well as volume. This is good if you're, frequently watching videos or you don't want sound on the game you're playing. You can turn this up and down quite easily just by going to the access panel. Other things to look out for are network settings, which I'll talk about next week, even more in depth. Otherwise, you can see that we've got a Wi-Fi symbol, meaning are we connected to the Wi-Fi? Yes. A Bluetooth symbol, which looks like a sideways bow tie, which is kind of how I've always described it. It's a bit hard to describe its look. I just know that that is Bluetooth. meaning that I can connect to my wireless keyboard that I've got here with the iPad. That's kind of the only use I've got for the Bluetooth right now. Generally, Bluetooth is great for connecting your device to another external device without any cords or any kind of connection required. So, for example, if I was to attach it or Bluetooth to a speaker, I can play music from the speaker without plugging it in, and I can actually move the device around and it would still be connected. It's quite cool. Other ones are hotspots, not hotspotting. What is this called? Airdropping. Airdropping just meaning that you can connect to another device and share information, programs, things like that, anything. Screen sharing can be done through AirDrop. Mostly file sharing is usually what it's used for. And then airplane mode at the top will turn off all your other connections to the network, including Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. This is what you are asked to turn on when you get onto a flight. Not that any of us will be doing that really at the moment. Just so no radio waves will affect the pilot or the systems on board that require, listening to the radio and things like that. You can turn it on and off that way. And it is essentially a full knockout of all external noise and internal noise from your device. No radio waves, things like that coming out, no connections available. So if you're, wanting to turn your device off without turning it off, you can use the airplane mode, no access to the internet, things like that. You can find a use for that. It's great for up late at night. You don't want to be bothered at all. You don't want a text message. If you want it fully off, that's what you can do. Contrastingly, you can also press the snooze button. I call it snooze. I believe it's just called sleep. What do we call this? Rest mode? Do not disturb. You can turn that on, and what that does is it keeps your connections active, but it means that when you turn this on, you're not going to be getting the pings and the buzzing and the vibrations of your phone getting a message or a notification or an update and things like that. It'll still come up on the screen, light up, but it won't make the noise. So that's what do not disturb means. I think it also does stop the home screen from presenting the notification. So if you were to get an update from the home screen, I'll show you what that would kind of look like. It would sit here. I've got one here. It says, calls and notifications will be silenced while your iPad is locked, which is what I've just turned on. That little do not disturb. That's what it's called. Do not disturb. Brilliant. So that's kind of all I can offer, just general use there. You can also turn on and off your ringtone. This is great for phones especially. Again, sorry, this might be a bit hard to see. Let me turn down my brightness. There you go. The do not disturb symbol, that just means you won't receive incoming calls. They'll all go straight to voicemail, essentially. Leave that on, brightness up. Beautiful. You can tap the home screen to get away, or you can press the home button at the bottom to get back to your home screen. So those are our general swiping actions. So let's continue on. And you've noticed my little dog, I've got him on today. He's very cute. So customizing your preferences with system settings. Again, I'll just show this briefly on, I may even show it on my Android device here because it is so clearly laid out. You can do things like setting your preferred language, updating date and time settings. Oh, sorry, I haven't changed the screen. Here we go. Set your preferred language, date and time, adjust sound volume, change the notification system and sounds, all kinds of stuff. So I've opened up my little cogwheel. That's what I call it. It could be a gear. I call it a cogwheel. It just is settings. On an iPad, it looks like this. Let me bring it up for you in the bottom left-hand corner here. Kind of an intricate looking set of cogs, gears, whatever you want to call them. But that's what you're looking for to change the settings, changing the internal workings of your device, I suppose, like a watch, maybe. When I open it up here, I've got a lovely list of things I can update and change, including connecting to Wi-Fi networks, displaying my battery, like how much charge we've got left on the device, sound and display options, meaning how bright is the screen, what color is it showing, what kind of app sizes do I want to work with, sound, including the volume as well as ringtones and things like that. And then we've also got accessibility. Accessibility options are brilliant if you want to jump into those. Accessibility is the same phrasing in an iPad as well. This will change things like font sizing, if you want the text read to you, if you need access to text-to-speech options or extra hearing aid options. It'll bring up a lot of extra choices. This is great fun, definitely a lot of tweaking you can do here, especially on an Android device. They allow for a lot more additional apps and programs to be put on there. If you've got one, for example, switch access, turn on control device with a switch for those who with motor impairments. Brilliant extra accessories you can add on to this. Very customizable. That's, again, one of the main bonuses of having an Android device. Very customizable. Can be overwhelming to new users. But I'd always recommend again, now you know my preference, I'd always recommend an Android device over an iPad, just because a little limited what it can do, but it is less overwhelming. So if you're generally just happy to use it, everyday use, games, accessing social networks, your emails, banking, things like that, brilliant. You could do it on this, definitely. Let's have a look for general settings. I've got general settings here. So they have sort of a tab format where you'll click on one and then it'll change what's on this right-hand panel. Bloop, bloop. I'm just turning my brightness down to make it easy to see. There we go. And from there, you have a whole array amongst the general settings to go into accessibility settings, and that goes into an even deeper level of choice and updates, including zoom, magnifying glasses you can have on your screen, increasing contrast, reducing motion button shapes, turning Siri on so you can activate voice commands as well. It's a lot of fun to check out. Please give it a go. Have a look in your general settings and see what you may like to change. It gives you a whole plethora of options to change and update. Very good. Please check it out. If you'd like more help with that, please let me know in the comments, and I will go back into those as well. They're definitely good to know, good to do, good to use. Next. Let's have a look at organizing apps. This is kind of one of the basics I always like to get to. How to move your apps around, how to delete them, how to get rid of them, things like that. So what we'll do, I'm actually just skimming to see which one I can get rid of without bothering the next person who'd have to use this iPad. This is a work iPad, of course. Let's say, let's just move things around. Let's not delete anything just yet. So what we're doing, we're going to be looking at our app screen, the home screen. And for an iPhone, you're going to move an app, you're going to hold your finger on the logo until it shakes. With an Android device, it can do the same thing, or it can be the case of clicking and dragging to a little bin symbol. They're all fairly similar. It just takes a little bit of getting used to if it's not, if it's different than what I'm showing you here. So say I want to move, I've got Libby on my furthest screen. It's away from all my other apps. And I'm thinking, I'd like to put Libby back with the rest of those apps. So we've had a look at here. Let me bring back my main screen so I can show you. I've got Libby here in the corner all alone. If we'd like to put her back with everyone else, let's hold our finger down and you can see she'll start wiggling. There we go. Da, 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 da. You can see the very slight wiggle, and as well as a little cross symbol that occurs in the corner. It comes up. You'll notice if you have a look at the bottom of my apps here, I have a few apps that don't have that little cross symbol. These are because these are inbuilt apps that are required to use your device in general. So for example, Safari is Apple's internet browser app. Other Android devices are going to be offering Chrome because Chrome is owned by Google, and Android and Google have a large stake in each other's companies. Or I think it's the other way around. Google owns a portion of Android, not all of it. It is a joint venture between like Motorola and all these other phone companies, phone groups, technology groups. They're more than just phones. But they're going to be offering Chrome on Android devices, but on Apple device here, they offer Safari, and my wiggles have disappeared. Let me hold down another app, get my wiggles back. There we go, little symbols. Now these symbols mean that you can delete them at any time. So if you have a look at this large group of apps we've got here for young kids and science-related technology endeavors, they've all got these little crosses in the corner. Now, if I click on one of these and I don't want to, it'll say, would you like to delete this app? And you can say, yes, I'd like to delete that app. Or today I want to move it. I don't want to just delete it. I want to move Libby around. So what I do, I hold my finger down till it lifts off. And then you can move it around to your heart's content. Now they will snap into place. That's just how Apple likes to set it up. I'm going to bring it back, bring it back to a different screen. If I can pick her up again, there we go. I'm going to drag it sideways till that other screen turns up, and you can see they move out the way. Now I'm going to bring it back just by sliding it to the other side of the screen, and I'll pop it there. There we go. Now when you're happy with that, you just press the little home button, or you let it time out. Mine timed out before. Press the home button and they stop wiggling, and they're back and sort of locked into place again. So there's no risk of them sliding around and losing them at that point. If you find you can't find an app you're looking for, but you know you've downloaded it, again, do that little search option, and you can type into the search bar what you're looking for, as I did before with Libby. So that's how you organize your apps. If you're wanting to be very organized and sort them into groups and have them packaged away in smaller bubbles, you can do that by holding down the symbol till it wiggles again. There we go, little crosses. Let's say these two are like apps for some reason. They're definitely very different apps, so maybe not grouping these together. But for an example, I'm going to hold onto Libby till I lift her off. There we go, she's lifted slightly. And then from there, I'm going to just hover over the top of this app, and it should make a little pocket for them to share. So this one's labeled as books. I don't know if this other little game app is a book app, but I'll accept that name. I can change it to anything else. I'll say books and games. There, books and games. That seems a little more adequate. And we'll click the home button to leave that little box. Boop. There we go. Oh, back to the home screen. And you can see I've got my books and games kind of all mushed together because it's a long title. And if we click on that, it opens that little pocket, and we can even flick through here as a secondary window. So this is a great way to start a little filing system, especially if you don't want to have to keep flicking through pages of apps like we've got here. You can have several of them bunched together, and that way you just go open, 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 and then find them that way. So for example, I'd open this one here, and more apps inside. You can really tidy up your home screen this way. It's very cool. Excellent. I think I've covered that nicely. Let's continue on. Here we go. And again, pressing that home button to set it in place. If you don't have a home button, they usually offer a secondary option to close. So say I want to, for example, I have this app called Daily Art. So holding it down, as soon as you hold it down, you can actually lift it right away. And here we have an option to either remove or uninstall it. Removing it is just getting it off of your home screen, but it is still installed on your device somewhere for you to find. It just won't be on the home screen. Uninstalling it is removing it completely. Now, I don't need this app, so I will hover over uninstalled. Comes up all red. It's like, oh no, it's going to be deleted. And releasing that, and it's gone. And it comes up with a Daily Art. Do you want to uninstall this app? Okay or cancel? I'm going to go okay. And it'll disappear, there we go, from the home screen, just like that. So very similar to your Apple device, it just has a few extra options to go, oh, are you sure you want to delete it, or clicking and dragging it around. So it's only slightly different. It's pretty much the same thing otherwise. Excellent, let's continue through. Using the camera app on your device, excellent. So it's simple to use. This is one of the apps that comes pre-installed on your device. You can find it, I'll find it on the front page most likely. For an Apple device, it looks like this little gray camera. So I'll just open that up. And what you can see what's behind me, my lovely gentleman on the banner representing Be Connected. You'll be able to see my own screen, as well as symbols such as the take a photo button, the shutter button, the option to switch between camera modes, and flipping, there I am, and flipping the camera around, as well as timer options, changing it to video or photo sizing, things like that. So these are all the inbuilt shooting modes, as I've noted, as well as having inbuilt editing tools. So if I take a picture of our gentleman here, it'll come up as a little recently taken photo here. If I open that up, we'll be able to edit our own stuff. So that's him there, that's what I just took. In the top left-hand corner, right-hand corner, we have an edit button. Again, I might just change my screen briefly so you can actually see. We have an edit button here, and from here you can change anything from the filter that you're viewing it through, meaning that you can change it to black and white, very dramatic, increase the colorization, make it very bright. You can crop the image, cropping meaning cutting it and shaping it however you like. You can preset, there we go, that's cropped. You can do magic wand tool. The magic wand is essentially quick edit. It adds contrast, brightness, kind of balances the levels of your image, makes it look a bit brighter and crisper, tries to pick out what you were trying to do with the picture. So if it's a bright sunny day, it's going to cool it down a little bit, make it a little less overexposed. If it's a dark evening shot, they're going to brighten it up so you can see a few more of the details that'll be in there. So that's the magic wand tool. It's that little, looks like a magic wand, as it says. And there are several other things you can do, including markup. It's like, okay. Here we go, meaning you can draw on your pictures. So say I want to put smiley faces around him. Oops. Pencil. Oops, they're in black. Never mind. Smiley. Looks a bit suspicious, doesn't it? Anyway. So anything from changing the color to the crop to contrast and adding doodles and things like that, you can do that on your camera app. I'll add a few points to that as well. We'll just have a look at a few extra tips that I can offer when using your photo app. So let's move this through. So using the grid lines to balance your image, using the rule of thirds, it's very hard to see. One more time, I'll just come back here again. Let's cancel this. You can see very faint white lines on my screen. These break up my screen to the rule of thirds, meaning that if you have the subject of an image and they take up about 3 of these thirds, so a third of the 9 squares that are there. So of these in 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3, 4, it's going to make a very dynamic, interesting image. You can learn more about that in one of my previous webinars where I talked about digital photography. And I'll go back to our main screen here, but you're welcome to have a look at that. It's on our YouTube as well as on the City of Marion homepage. Well, City of Marion, and then go into libraries, what's on Be Connected. You can find it there. Another thing you can do is autofocus with a tap. So just tapping your screen and it'll just autofocus the image. You'll be able to focus in. Changing exposure levels with the slider. This is quite cool. Not everyone knows about this. If you have your image up here, I'll come back to the main screen again. If you have your image like so, tapping it, I'll try and get the glare out the way, tapping it will bring up this little box, and beside the box is a sun. Hold it so you can see a sun. And if you hold the sun, you can click and drag. And what this does, this changes how much light is allowed in the image when you're taking it. So this is a very high exposure. If I drop it down, drop the contrast all the way down, this is a low exposure, meaning less light comes in. This is very hard to show. Less light comes in. So up, down, changing that. Oftentimes, if you click on the very bright part of the picture, it's going to lighten up. A dark part, it's going to try and brighten that as well. Now, it's not getting that quite right. It's turning that black into gray. And you can change that automatically by sliding your finger up and down that little sun symbol. It's quite quick to do. It's quite cool. And it can really add an extra professionalism to your image and make it look less overexposed or underexposed. You can use portrait mode to blur the background, which I believe I have here. Video, photo, square, pano. Okay, not everyone has the portrait image. It just depends on which version they're running. I know for a fact this is running a later version of the OS. It's not brand new. It can be updated. We just don't update work devices as often as you would a home device. And the other one I was going to speak about is the volume buttons, using them to take a photo. Where are my volume buttons? This is great if you're holding two-handed, for example. You can just use the buttons here. Take a picture. Saves you from holding with one and tapping with the other. It can be quite hard. So I recommend using those volume buttons on the side. Either up or down works. It's fine. Just getting lots of pictures today. And just those are my tips for using the camera app at least. The last thing I'll talk about, I'm going to jump into Be Connected. Let's have a look. Will we get there? Yes. Ebooks, not Libby, I should say. We're going to look at ebooks and audiobooks on your device, downloading them, using them, reading them. So Libby is the free free audiobooks and ebooks app that you can get access to using your library card for free. No payment necessary. That's just what you get with your library card. You get free access. Here we go, just logging in there. Let me open it up. So for me, it looks like this little plum and a teal symbol, little head poking out of a book. And I'll go back to my homepage. I was reading Too Much Lip. Shout out to Literary Anything, our podcast. That was the most recent book that Paula and Jane spoke about, Too Much Lip. So this is the home screen for when you've signed into your device. You just need to search when you jump on for the first time. I'll show you on this device actually. I believe I haven't logged on with this one. Here we go. It asks, as soon as you open it, it goes, do you have a library card? Yes or no. If you say no, it's going to be asking you to find a library to sign up to. Because of course, Libby is the app you need. You do need to have a library card to access it. It's essentially just a digital library that you get access to with a library card. So like a physical library, you need a card for it to know which account it's checking the books out to. So with a digital card, it'll ask, what is your library card number? And for Marion users, anyone in the SA, it's going to be that X0 number on the back of the card. And for us with Marion Library, we sign you up with your birthday as your date of birth, as your PIN. So it's day, month, year, day in 2 digits, month 2 digits, year 4 digits. So 8 numbers total, and that's your PIN. From there, it'll log you on and you'll be able to access a whole world. I think I freaked it out. Sorry, I nearly dropped you. A whole series of ebooks, audiobooks, and magazines. I recently found you can download magazines as well. It's very cool. I'm currently reading Too Much Lip. You can go to your shelf and view what you've got currently checked out. So I've checked out Too Much Lip and this magazine, Bon Appetit, just because I wanted to see what a magazine looked like on one of these, because of course we have our app. Press Reader is the other app we use for magazines. It's got a huge array of magazines, more than we would have in the library, even at all 3 of our branches. But I'll go back to books here. I'm just impressed that they have magazines as well. From here, you'd be browsing the library to find which book you're looking for. Any item you borrow is good for 21 days, after which it'll automatically go back into the system, having checked off your card. There are no extensions on Libby, so we can't extend books for you, but you can put them on hold again and pick them up. It makes for a very good turnaround of books, and you can always see how often a book is ready to go for. I'm just seeing if I can find one that, I'm just clicking on, say, for example, this Marcus Zuzak's book. You can see automatically that you can borrow. However, there's a little calendar symbol, meaning that it's not good to borrow right away. If it was a plus symbol, yes, but a calendar tells you more. So I'm clicking on this one and it says, I'll read it for you because it's a bit hard to read. If you place a hold in this title, it should be ready for you to borrow in the next few days. There are 61 copies in use. 3 people are waiting in total, meaning that there's less than 1 person waiting per copy, of course. So it gives you kind of the general idea of how long you'd have to wait. Again, every book only goes out for 21 days. If there are 61 copies and there's 3 people waiting for a copy, very high likely that you're not going to have to wait very long at all. So it's really cool that it shows you that. You can kind of get an idea of what you're going to be waiting. And then you can just pop it on hold and it'll automatically come onto your account. It'll say, this is ready to be borrowed. Are you ready to borrow? And then you press borrow. And from that point, the 21 days starts. So we've got 2 sides to Libby. We've got the library and the shelf. I'll click on shelf. I'll come back to my main screen here. So I've gone back to my shelf, tells me what I'm reading now. Too Much Lip. I have 20 days left. I borrowed it today. Let's open it up by just tapping the image of the cover. And here we go. This is sort of the main layout for how you'd be viewing. Again, it's sort of a skimming through, there we go, skim through option to get to the next page. There we go. And then if we turn it sideways, we'll get a double screen view for those of you who don't mind reading on a smaller size screen. The font stays the same size, so the pages will jostle about depending on how you've tilted it, how you've orientated your screen. And then you can skim through and read that way. There are also audiobooks to get excited about. And those are really good to do, especially if you're one that enjoys, going for walks and things like that, and you don't necessarily have time to sit down and read. You can listen or do chores or gardening, go outside with a book, just listen to it. It's very good. Good for on your phone, especially because your phone is naturally going to be quite smaller, not great for reading on, great for listening on. A cool few tips that I can show you when using at least the reading side of the app. At the bottom, you can track how far you've traveled through the book. So you can kind of get an idea of chapters, the size of the book. So say I can go all the way to the end. I'm not going to do that. That'll spoil things for me. But you can also update the font size, how you view things, bookmarking a page in the whole book. So you can see I've got a little bookmark just there, letting me know that that was where I was up to. I can open up which bookmarks I've done. You can do several bookmarks, so only just one. So if you're maybe going back and showing someone quotes, you can bookmark these and go, this is the page I was looking for. You can change font, and I'll just show you how we do that. Press back. Tap the screen. Fonts, that A symbol in the top. If you want to get rid of this full view of all the information that you can change, just tap the screen back on the text and it gives you the full book and you can just skim through that way. No need to look at the extra interface. However, if you'd like, how do I do this again? Yeah, sorry, dragging it up brings it back. There we go. Pressing the A up there to change the size. So getting bigger, hopefully, there we go. Get to very big, those who like large print items, perfect. To very, very small, if you don't mind sort of normal size text, getting to kind of the smaller novel. You can change the lighting. So this changes the book to a lovely sepia tone. Again, this might be hard for you to see. I'll just try and adjust my screen just so it's a little less bright. Lovely sepia tone and off-white. Well, sepia, it's kind of like a beige at that point. Let's click on the A again to get those options back. You can even do a dark theme. So this changes it to black on white. Very, very good for reading in bed when you only need a very little bit, a little small amount of light. You don't need a whole screen blaring in your face. You can change it to a dark theme. And then beyond that, I'll go back to bright here. And you can change it to any type of other book design, including something called legible, scholar, paperback. And those who are dyslexic or have trouble reading have this dyslexic friendly font, which makes it easier and you can keep track of the words much better. So I love that they offer that for almost every title. I don't think there are any books on here that can't format to do this and change color and size. They can all be edited that way just because of the nature of the files that we have access to. It's very, very good. So that's Libby. It's very exciting. Ebooks, audiobooks, and magazines. I should point that out now. I'll go back to my screen here and let's finish up for the day. Okie doke, that was Libby. I'll just pause for any questions and I'll be right back. So I'll just pause for a moment. One moment. Excellent. Thanks, everyone. Let's continue through. And I'll talk about how to stay connected with us. So if you'd like to keep in contact with us, join us online on Facebook or our Facebook page. We are at City of Marion Libraries. You can check out our Facebook and Instagram without having an account. That's totally fine. You can just look us up using the internet, using your browser. Check out our What's On page on the City of Marion website. You can find us in, if you click on the header of venues, libraries, yes, venues, libraries, or venues, Cove Civic Centre, Cultural Centre, Parkholme Library. I believe we just have a nice libraries tab though. And then from there go What's On, and you'll find all the events we have on online, in-person events. If we have them running anytime soon, we'll find out that soon. As well as Be Connected programming. You can find more of our episodes as well as previous sessions I've run. They'll be saved on there in a lovely YouTube format that you can view at your leisure. You can also subscribe to our Library Loop newsletter. We put one out every month. We don't like to overload your inboxes, but we do keep you up to date with new releases, exciting developments in the book world, as well as events we have got going on and other things. And of course, you can visit a branch or call us on 8375-6755. We'd love to say hello. Excellent. That's all I have for today, everyone. Thank you again for joining me and being such a lovely group. I'll see you again next time when we talk about data and Wi-Fi. I'm very excited. All right, everyone. I'll see you in the next one. Happy learning. Bye.